One of the biggest reasons Marvel keeps failing is superhero fatigue. People are just tired of non-stop superhero movies. Back in the early 2000s, seeing superheroes on screen felt exciting and fresh. But now, after endless releases Iron Man, Superman, Batman, Mosquito Man, Wonder Woman, Blue Beetle, seriously, every animal and random man has a movie now. It's all starting to feel repetitive. Honestly, the first Iron Man movie amazed everyone, but then came Iron Man 2, and it completely ripped away all that respect. The sequel felt like a boring filler movie. Don't talk about Thor movies. That's completely waste of time. That's why superhero movies aren't pulling in the same hype anymore. Studios are slowing down because audiences are getting bored. But there are still a few exceptions, like Deadpool and Wolverine. Not because Deadpool is some groundbreaking film, it's just packed with humor. And that's enough to keep people interested. After Endgame, Marvel movies were all linked to the Infinity Stones and one major villain, Thanos. That created a huge sense of connection between films, making every movie feel like a meaningful piece of a bigger puzzle. But now, Marvel is just releasing projects without any clear direction. Seriously, what's the point of Brave New World? Can anyone actually answer that? It feels like Marvel is just throwing out movies with no future plans. In She-Hulk, they introduced Hulk's son. In the Marvels, they introduced Beast. But for what? Where is this leading? Nowhere. Marvel just wants fans to talk about these post-credit scenes for a few days, generate some online buzz, and make money off the hype. And the worst part, fans fall for it every time. Instead of talking about how bad the actual movie is, people focus on decoding the post-credit scenes. But what's the point of all this buildup if it leads to nothing? I think Marvel started getting real hate from the She-Hulk series. Fans were excited at first, expecting a fun legal drama with superhero elements, but when it dropped, it completely triggered the audience. Marvel had already been turning the Hulk into a joke, but She-Hulk took it to another level. Bruce Banner, the same guy who once smashed through armies and gods, was now teaching yoga. Seriously? In the comics, when Hulk steps onto the battlefield, everything trembles. He's a force of nature. But here, he's just used for cheap comedy. That said, She-Hulk wasn't all bad. Breaking the fourth wall was actually a cool touch, and some moments worked, but overall, it felt like Marvel was making fun of its own fans instead of delivering a solid superhero story. Marvel's golden era was built on the backs of unforgettable heroes like Iron Man, Captain America, and Black Panther. These characters weren't just superheroes, they were cultural icons that carried emotional weight. When Iron Man snapped his fingers in Endgame, the entire world felt it. When Steve Rogers passed on his shield, it was the end of an era. But after their exit, the MCU failed to replace them with equally compelling leads. The problem? No one feels like the guy anymore. Let's be real, when you think about Marvel's current heroes, who actually feels like the new face of the MCU? Exactly. No one. The studio seems to be throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. But nothing is sticking. Doctor Strange feels more like a side character in his own movie's Multiverse of Madness made him a passenger in America Chavez's story. Thor turned into a joke with no real character growth. Love and Thunder reduced him to a dumb, clueless buffoon. Spider-Man, sure, Tom Holland is popular, but Sony still holds the rights, making his MCU future uncertain. Captain Marvel, Disney tried to push her as the next big thing, but audiences never fully connected. The Marvel's box office bomb proves it. Marvel tried replacing icons with legacy characters, but it backfired. Rather than introducing fresh, unique characters, Marvel took the lazy route by handing down old mantles. Sam Wilson as Captain America, Kate Bishop as Hawkeye, Shuri as Black Panther, Riri Williams as Ironheart, Iron Man's replacement. The problem? None of these characters have the same weight, personality, or depth as the originals. They feel like weaker copies rather than true successors. Fans aren't rejecting new heroes, they're rejecting uninspired ones. MCU feels like a participation trophy universe now. What made Iron Man, Cap, and Black Panther great? They earned their hero status. Tony Stark went from a selfish billionaire to a man willing to die for the universe. Steve Rogers started as the underdog no one believed in but became a legend. T'Challa proved himself as a worthy king through trial and challenge. Now, new heroes often inherit their roles without real struggle. Sam Wilson gets the shield, but his character arc is weak compared to Steve's. Riri Williams shows up out of nowhere in Wakanda Forever and is suddenly Iron Man's replacement. Fans don't feel invested because these characters haven't been built up properly. The result? A leaderless, directionless franchise. If the studio doesn't fix this soon, audiences will continue checking out. They don't just want new superheroes, they want heroes worth rooting for. There was a time when every Marvel release felt like a once-in-a-lifetime event. The world would stop when a new Avengers movie dropped. Fans camped outside theaters. Spoilers flooded the internet. and social media exploded with reactions. Infinity War and Endgame had people cheering in theaters like it was the Super Bowl. Now, Marvel movies come and go like forgettable Netflix shows. Before, Marvel used to release just 2 or 3 movies a year, making each one an exciting wait. Now, there's a new Marvel movie or Disney Plus show almost every month. The result? No time to build hype, no time for audiences to miss the MCU, no time to make the stories feel important. By turning the MCU into a non-stop content machine, Marvel killed the anticipation that made its movies feel special. Compare this to DC's The Batman or Joker. When The Batman dropped in 2022, it felt like an event. Audiences were excited because it had been years since a major Batman movie. The same goes for Joker. It was different, bold, and unpredictable. Meanwhile, Marvel's movies feel like episodes in a never-ending TV series rather than big cinematic events. No real cliffhangers, no urgency. Think about it. Infinity War ended with Thanos snapping away half the universe. Fans waited in agony for a whole year to see what happened next. Endgame was the biggest cinematic payoff ever. Now, what do we get? Ant-Man 3 teased Kong as a threat, but then immediately downplayed him. Doctor Strange teased incursions but hasn't followed up. The Marvels teased a big X-Men moment, but barely anyone saw the movie. There's no urgency anymore. Nothing feels important. Audiences don't feel like they need to watch the next movie because Marvel never makes them care. Marvel split its audience by dumping shows onto Disney Plus. In the past, if you wanted to keep up with the MCU, you just had to watch the movies. Now, it's WandaVision, Loki, Secret Invasion, Ms. Marvel, Moon Knight, Hawkeye, Echo. The result? Fans stop caring because there's too much to follow. And worst of all, half these shows don't even matter. Secret Invasion had Nick Fury battling Skrulls, but guess what? Nobody in the movies acknowledges it. Ms. Marvel introduced Kamala, but her movie flopped before anyone could care. Echo released with zero hype because audiences are burnt out. When Marvel floods the market with content, nothing feels like an event anymore. The box office collapse proves it. Marvel used to be unstoppable at the box office, but look at the recent numbers. Endgame 2019, $2.7 billion. Spider-Man No Way Home 2021, $1.9 billion. Doctor Strange 2022, $955 million. Ant-Man 3 2023, $476 million. The Marvels 2023, $200 million biggest flop in MCU history. This downward trend isn't random. Fans aren't rushing to theaters anymore because Marvel movies feel like just another Wednesday release. Where is the next Infinity War moment? The MCU's biggest problem is that it lacks a centerpiece. The Infinity Saga built toward Endgame, but what is the multiverse saga building toward? Sure, we have Avengers Secret Wars coming, but there's no hype, no build-up, and no real excitement. Marvel has spent so much time throwing out random projects that fans aren't emotionally invested anymore. How can Marvel fix this? Marvel can make its movies feel special again if they stop releasing so many movies and shows back-to-back. Give fans time to miss the MCU. Build a clear narrative. Make each movie lead towards something bigger, like the Infinity Saga did. Create real cliffhangers. Give fans a reason to be excited for the next movie. No more weak post-credit teases. Focus on quality over quantity. Instead of making 5 average projects per year, make 2 great ones. Right now, Marvel movies are like fast food, cheap, predictable, and easy to forget. If they want to reclaim their throne, they need to go back to what made them great.